How you doing? Daniel Mosnet here with Cowboy Charcoal, and we are cooking up a great one for you today. We are switching up a little bit on you. We're Cowboy Charcoal, that's true, but today we're cooking on a gas grill. We're gonna show you how you can be a backyard pit master with a fantastic tomahawk steak right on your gas grill. Easy stuff. We're gonna reverse sear it. We'll smoke it to about 115 degrees with some hickory and mesquite wood chips. Then we're gonna throw it back in this pan, which is gonna be ripping hot. We'll fire some butter in there. We'll get it ladled so it's just nice and crusty and flavorful. Then we'll pair it with a little bit of whiskey. It's gonna be fantastic. So first things first, we want to add a little bit of a roasted garlic butter to the top of the steak when it's ready. So first we need to roast our garlic. Really simple. Cut the top of your garlic, cut it right off. To that we're going to add just a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt and pepper. You can add herbs in here at this point if you want. I'm gonna add my special herbs to it as well. We're just gonna steam it in a little bit of whiskey because we're gonna have a little whiskey with the steak. We're just gonna wrap it up, make sure that whiskey doesn't spill out. And then we're just gonna put that on the grill. We're gonna roast that right on the grill for about 30 minutes or so. That's gonna keep going. You can do that a day ahead. You can store it in your fridge. You can do it a couple weeks ahead if you want, and make a compound butter anytime you like. So to get started turning your gas grill into a smoker, you need a smoker box. I just bought a brand new one, nice and shiny. And we're gonna add, for this recipe, I want stronger flavors. I could have used Jack Daniel's wood chips, but today we're gonna use hickory and mesquite. We're gonna use a combination, and I suggest you use combinations of wood chips. Use apple, use cherry, use all kinds of flavors and find out what you like the best. So that's as simple as that. You just load them into your smoker box and you put that right over the hottest part of the grill, and it's gonna take about 10 minutes or so and you're gonna start smoking. Now, well, I don't have a smoker box. I got you covered. All you need to do is grab a piece of foil. It's gonna do the exact same thing. Grab a piece of foil and you're gonna line that foil with hickory chips and mesquite chips. You're gonna put those right in there. Now, when I put it on the grill, I like to leave it open because I like a lot of smoke to come out. So we just roll the sides, roll the front, roll the back, and that's it. If you like, you can put a few small holes right on the bottom, just pricks, so you don't make too big of a tear, but you want the heat to be able to go through the foil and get into the chips. The more flat of a layer of chips you have, the more smoke you're gonna get. So we'll put that right on the grill. And as you can see, we've put it right over the top of one of the burners. So this is the hottest part of the grill where it's getting the most heat and where we can control as much of the smoke as we want. Now, if these start to smoke too much, all you need to do is just move them off the heat. Really simple. If for some reason this catches on fire because there's heat and there's wood on top of your grill, just move it off the heat and very simply, slowly and carefully, just cover it, right? You're gonna douse the fire, you're gonna take away the oxygen from it, and then when you remove it, you'll have a nice amount of smoke. Very simple. Don't worry, don't freak out, don't get scared. It's very easy to do. Okay, now it's time to address the hero of the day. That is our tomahawk steak. So when you have a tomahawk steak like this, you really don't need to do a lot to it. You want to make sure you take it out of your refrigerator about an hour or so before you cook it. You want it to come up to room temperature so you get a nice even sear and an even cook all the way through the meat. You don't want it to be too cold because then the heat's gonna have a harder time distributing evenly. So make sure you bring your steak up to room temperature. That's true for a porterhouse, for a New York steak, for any steak that you're cooking. Make sure you let your meat come up to room temperature. Now, All we're gonna do with this steak is we're gonna add a little bit of olive oil. We're not gonna trim any of that fat. We want a nice sear all the way around. So we're gonna leave all of this gorgeous marbling right on the steak. So a little bit of olive oil. We're gonna rub that around. I like to add the olive oil first because it acts as a nice binder. Make sure you put the olive oil on the top, on the bone side as well, so you get a nice, good color when you're grilling. Rub that olive oil all the way in on both sides. And then we'll add our Jack Daniel's steak seasoning and be generous with it. You want a nice even coat all the way across. Both sides. We'll press it in and then we'll eat all around the edges as well. All the way around. Make sure you have a nice even coat. You don't have to worry about this burning because we're gonna reverse sear this to start. So we add a little bit of black pepper. I like my steaks a little spicy, so we're gonna add a little extra black pepper and a little bit of salt. And the salt will help create a really nice crust. So again, be generous with your salt. If you go to a steakhouse, they load it with salt. You have no idea how much salt they put on your steak at a steakhouse. So this may look like a lot, but it's really gonna cook right in, okay? Now we're just gonna press it all in. And again, make sure you get all around all the edges. Then I'm gonna let it rest for about 5 minutes or so before we put it on. Just make sure that we get all of that seasoning a good chance to set into the meat so you get a nice even flavor. And that's an important thing to remember. When you're working with a gas grill, you have to remember that propane is very easy and convenient, which is fantastic, but it's not a flavor. So you need to make sure you add flavors back in, like mesquite wood chips, hickory wood chips, so you can get that balance and you can get the flavor from the fuel as well as the flavor from the herbs and spices that you're putting on your food. So let's go back and check our wood chips and see if they're smoking. And there you go. That's the kind of smoke that you want to see when you're ready to put your steak on. You've got some of the outside areas that are nice and dark and charred, and you've got some of the other fresh pieces of wood up on top. You know that you've got at least 30 minutes, maybe an hour of smoke right there. That's would be just about what we need for this tomahawk. So I've got 2 burners going really hot on the right side. My gauge here, we've got about a 550 degree grill. So I'm gonna set my tomahawk right here so we get that offset heat. We're just gonna set that right down. We're gonna put a probe in it because I wanna be pretty specific with my temperature. I wanna take this off at about 115 degrees so we can go up about another 10 degrees when we sear it in the butter and the herbs. So we'll put a probe right in. Okay, now depending on the thickness and the total weight of your steak, this could take about 20 to 45 minutes. It really just depends. This steak here is probably gonna take about 20, 25 minutes or so, but put a probe in, take it off at 115 or your desired doneness. I like mine a little bit on the rare side of medium rare, so we're gonna take that off a little bit early, but cook it to your desired doneness anywhere between 20 and 45 minutes. All right, we'll shut the top, we'll let this smoke, and we'll show you what it looks like when we finish it off. Okay, we're back. We're about halfway through the cooking process on the tomahawk. We'll show you what that looks like. Got a bunch of great smoke coming. Our garlic is just about done. I've got one done ahead of time, but this one's just about ready to go. I'm gonna add a little bit more mesquite chips right to the top of our smoker box. We'll just let that keep smoking. You can see the color's already starting to change. We're at about 90 degrees or so, so we're just about there on the tomahawk. So let's close that down a little bit more. Let that keep cooking. And now I'm gonna show you how to make a compound butter that's really gonna make all these flavors pop. When you just cut a pat or two and put it right on top of the steak, as it rests, that butter will seep right into the fibers of the meat. Flavors are gonna be fantastic. So to get this going, we take our garlic that we've roasted and see how easy that comes out. Those are just ready to go. All you have to do really is just squeeze the top and that garlic's gonna come right out. We'll just scoop the top of this off. We've got that nice smoky flavor. We've already got some in here, but you wanna make sure you get those caramelized pieces. That's where your flavor is. That's all the pieces that have really been touched by the smoke. So make sure you don't get any of the skin or the peel of the garlic, but you've got that in there, and that's so soft, that'll just mush right in. So we've got garlic, we've got softened butter, We've got some fresh herbs. We've got thyme and rosemary here. You can use whatever you like. If you just like thyme, you just like rosemary, sage, whatever your favorite fresh herbs are, use those. We'll add a little bit of salt and pepper. A little bit of salt. I typically only use unsalted butter, so I know the amount of salt that I'm adding back into the food. If you use salted butter, you probably don't need to use the salt step. We use Jack Daniel's seasoning on the steak, so I'm adding just a little bit in the compound butter as well, so we get a lot of those same flavors all the way through. Then we'll just mix it up, get all of this incorporated in the butter, and we're gonna put it back in the refrigerator and let this harden up again. Put it in a little bit of plastic wrap, or you can put it right back in the bowl just like this and scoop it out. Make it easy on yourself. So that's it, that's a compound butter. And why is it a compound butter? Because we're compounding the flavors within the butter, and that's what we're putting on the steak. That's a steakhouse secret. They always finish in fat. Sometimes they finish it in pork fat or bacon fat. We're finishing it today in a little bit of butter. Okay, so let's sneak in and look. Our steak's at about 95 degrees, so we're getting pretty close. Let's see what we're looking like. Okay, so this is something that can easily happen when you're using wood chips on a gas grill. We've got a bit of a fire. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna turn the burner off that's directly under the wood chips, and we're gonna close the top. That's it. That's all you have to do. We get that nice smoke again. There's no reason to panic. There's no reason to make a big deal out of this. Just close the top. We're gonna smother the fire and let it continue to smoke. Our fire's gone. You can open the top back up now if you like. I'm gonna add a few more mesquite chips to the top, just so we get some nice fresh smoke. And then I'm gonna close the top, let it go a little bit more. You can see, boy, that's looking fantastic. All right, a couple more minutes. We'll show you how to finish it. Okay, so now I think we're just about ready. We're gonna take the temperature of our steak here, and we are at 113. So I'm gonna call that good enough for now, and we're gonna cook it a little bit more. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take this off, and we're gonna let it rest for a little while we get our cast iron pan ready to go. But you can see that, look at that. It's gonna taste fantastic. So we'll just let this rest for a little while we get our cast iron pan up to temperature. We've accepted just about as much smoke as we can. So we're gonna close our smoke tray. We're gonna move this just to the top, and then we'll move our cast iron pan over the top of the high heat, and we're gonna get this ripping hot as we can get it. So here we'll add a little bit of olive oil, just to help lubricate the pan a little bit. We'll add herbs right to the pan. We've got some thyme, we've got some rosemary. Then we're gonna add some butter. We'll let that melt. Let all of those flavors start to meld together. Let's get our flavors going. There we go. As soon as our butter is completely melted, then we can add our tomahawk right back, and we can sear the heck out of it. Okay, now we've got a completely melted piece of butter. Now we're gonna add our tomahawk right to the pan. Go ahead and press it right down. You can hear it sizzling. Not gonna need too much time on each side, maybe about 2 or 3 minutes. And then we take our herb brush, we grab some of that butter, and we just brush it all around the top. If you have any of that garlic left over, you can add that garlic to it as well. Make sure you get the bone here as well. You wanna make sure that looks moist. If that looks dried out, it's not gonna be extremely appetizing to your guests. So make sure you baste the bone as well. To this, we're gonna make sure we get all of the sides. So we're gonna do the front, the back, and then we're gonna sear all of the sides of the steak as well. And you can see all of that great crust right in there. Okay, so we've got both sides. Remember that big fat cap that we had? We're gonna just lay that right on the top, get that fat cap, render out any additional fat that we can. Okay, we're gonna get one more brush right over the top, as much flavor as we can coax out of these herbs and all this butter in here. You can see that this butter is about gone. Some of it's evaporated out, but most of it is penetrated into the steak. Okay, so that's our steak. We're gonna rest it here on a piece of foil, and we can remember our compound butter. This is how I wrap it up and put it in the refrigerator. We've just kind of rolled it, set it in the refrigerator for a little bit. And we got a pretty good sized piece of meat here, so I'm gonna give us a few slices because you can never have enough compound butter. We're just gonna go 1, 2, 3. Now the heat of the steak is gonna melt that butter and all that flavor is gonna go right through. Okay, so we've got our butter there. We're just gonna fold over the top. Gonna let that sit for about 10 minutes. And then we're gonna slice it and serve it. Can't wait. The thing that I like the most with a perfectly cooked steak is a nice glass of rye whiskey. Today we've got Derek Wolf from Over the Fire Cooking sent us some Nashville rye. That's gonna pair perfectly with all these flavors. Oh, that's good. Okay, so we've had our steak resting for about 10 minutes. Let's take a peek. Look at that. We've got our butter that's starting to melt, pretty much all melted. We put pretty big pats of butter on. Just spoon that around a little bit more. Let that get into all of the nooks and crannies of that meat. So when I serve this for my guests, I like to serve it just like this, right on the cutting board. I just cut it right off the bone, make nice slices across the grain so it's nice and tender, and leave it right on the board. That's the best presentation, but you can do it how you like. Okay, so now for a final cutting and presentation. For much larger tomahawks, you can go ahead and cut the spinalis off and just slice the interior piece. Today, I'm just gonna cut right down the bone. And then I'm just gonna give us nice pieces. All that marbling. And as you cut it, the butter just runs down into the meat. I can't wait to dig in. That is absolutely perfectly cooked. You can see we've got a nice medium rare, which is a great target temperature. You can really taste all of those wood flavors in there. The hickory and mesquite really permeate into that meat. The butter, fantastic. And there you have a perfectly cooked tomahawk steak for your special dinner tonight. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe for all of these recipes and so many more. Check out our Cowboy Facebook Pitmaster page. You can look us up at cowboycharcoal.com. All kinds of tips on how to use charcoal, wood chips, how to use a gas grill, so much more information. I'm Daniel Mosnet. Until next week, keep cooking with Cowboy.